welcome back to EMEA Masters Semifinals, where Team Geo opens the score 1-0 here against Karmine Corp. You have stuff to say here.
No, I heard Shio, but I was like,
Team
that's
Geo.
the jungle of BDS, yeah?
You say Team Go or whatever, you say it's
Geo.
Team Geo.
Okay.
I'll say the French way.
Sorry, thank
but
you.
Anyway.
I've been told today.
Taking the first game here. Honestly, for me, watching this game, it was kind of weird because the game was dead even in gold. And even then, it felt like K-Corp was always behind somehow and never found a way to come back.
Yeah, it felt like a large portion that was, well, Cabo Shard existing. Like, you had a massive lead in that top side, right? Got the terror in that top end of the map. But the problem was trying to then commit those resources into team fights, because Jesu had gotten so far ahead in that bottom lane off the level 1, where there was just, I mean, every fight he was cleaning up. We saw this initial fight. We got even the run for Ragnar. This is like 7 minutes, this first Dragon fight. And from that, you're at 3-0 on Jesu. And he's just in such a good position then to start to chase everyone down.
Yeah, and so many factors led to this. One is that K-Corp got killed level 2. I mean, they were still level 1. They didn't respect the fact that the enemy bot lane reached level 2. And I think that's a bit of maybe nerfs coming into it. I'm not too sure, but that's a mistake we really shouldn't be happening at this level. But I also think in general, Cabo, as we said earlier, kept them in this. And even though Geo gets the Baron, they still have a hard time keeping it on their members, which has been a bit of a reoccurrings with Team Geo in general.
Yeah, I mean, the Baron has been great for them in a lot of situations, but I kind of want to just bring up, I think for the bot lane for Karmine Corp, I don't think Targamas had the best games. We were kind of talking about it backstage as well, getting caught out a lot. That fight that we just saw there as well, there was a lot of miscommunication between Syncroft and Targamas as well, where Syncroft was ulting in as the Jarvan and as Targamas is throwing a hook, so he just hits the wall, does nothing. So it felt like there was a lot of missing plays between, well, the synergy we were highlighting at the start of the day, which was that jungle and support for Karmine.
Completely.
But there is also the things that as soon as you're in a Nautilus lane where it falls behind, your only role every time is still, well, I need to go in somehow. So a winning Nautilus often looks better than the losing, because you will just absolutely grieve it then. But I do agree with the sentiment still. And I think that maybe a stronger showing will have to come through from the Karmine Corp bot lane, because they did not have the strongest performance lane-wise, which really made it difficult. I mean, just look at Jesus' damage right there.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like more than his solo laners combined. So he was certainly taking over in this game.
He's been popping off, and honestly, this is everything we wanted to see on the side of Team Geo, being mindful in the early game with the way they approach objectives and the way they're going to translate this into a comfortable mid-game. Because, guys, even though they got 6 kills really early, managed to grab the Drakes and everything, again, it didn't translate into anything. And as you said, I feel like it came down more to Casey's execution and how they were approaching fights. Not to take anything from Geo and what they did, but here it was not what I was expecting on the side of Casey.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about it backstage. A lot of the setups that we saw coming into objectives weren't really working quite well. So, I mean, at least from the get-go, I did like the Karmine Corp kind of set out their waves and side lanes correctly, and that they were actually playing wide on the map. So oftentimes we got to like first and second Rift Heralds, it was actually Karmine Corp who were coming out ahead because of those trades, and that's where the gold lead was kind of answering out for each other. But it was when we got to the mid-game where that's where we really started to see it fall apart.
Absolutely, but I completely agree with your sentiment. I think coming into the second Rift Herald, where you can see on the gold graph right now that Geo was still in a favorable position, they were the one who was really slow to it. Capo kept having the top lane pushes. The bot lane rotations came in at the same time, so even though Jesu had a lead, he wasn't able to leverage that lead to be there before the enemy bot lane in terms of starting it up. I also think that the vision control in terms of that rotation at second Herald was quite lacking, and I think that fight could have been way more dire with the flank that Syncroft had initially on the Jarvan and the way it then turned out to them to still go even. So I think it's small moments like this where Geo has the lead, but they don't have a way of actually accelerating it through objectives because K-Corp had the better setup around it.
Yeah, and the way Kabasha has been playing, which unfortunately doesn't translate into anything good enough for KC, but I feel like it's something we keep on seeing with Renekton. Even though you get a lead, even though you get agency, you're supposed to hand the game over to your teammates later on. And relying on front-to-back with Talia and Zeri here that they couldn't make work somehow, I feel like regardless of the impact that Cabo could have had, it was not enough.
Well, I think a lot of that as well was we never really got that front to back, right?
Yeah.
Like we had that incredible play from Cabo Shard where he's like flashing into the Jarvan ult to get the kills, but he was coming in from a flank, right? And it felt like you never really had that setup where it was like, okay, well, we're going to utilize this incredibly strong Crocodile on the top side, play for early Rift Heralds, try and snowball our leads through the Rift Herald then that allows us to set up. Whereas when it's Team Go who are getting all these advantages, it makes it very, very tough for you to actually enact anything with the Renekton. And we even heard it from Yamato the last day he was on the desk here as well. Like one of the big things with Cabo Shard is when he's not on a pick that kind of has to carry to a certain extent. He's very good at actually utilizing an Ornn or a Scion to play around the map and actually be in a position that he needs to. And the funny thing was, it was actually Ragnar who was doing that on the opposite side of this matchup, like being there for that first dragon fight without having to use a TP to get down there. And I think that's where we're probably going to see Cabo lean back in towards those more tank-oriented picks here.
But also that small window at that Drake specifically was like the one time where there was prior because Cabo had went back. He was able to move, and I think that also comes down to maybe some of the base time as well before the Drake gets started up. But no matter what, like Kalist and Targamas will have to step up, even if Cabo is on a tank, because if this is the damage he's putting out while you have a tank as well, it's not going to change a lot of the outcome, right?
And I'm always worried when I see Azeri. I'm like, there's going to be a Azeri moment somehow. She's going to come back. She's going to come back to the game. But here, look at Jesu. Look at Jesu. Honestly, if there's one player that we should highlight for this game, it has to be the French bot laner here. And I always say that with Jesu, you get two sides of a coin. Either it's going to go super great, he's going to be confident. Otherwise, it goes really bad. Today, it looks to be a good day.
It certainly does. And I mean, really nice cleanse from Kalist. That was pretty Captain Jack-esque. The problem is you're still getting caught in the CC afterwards. And that's that level 2 that you get in a wave that I think that's just not respected. And then they just continue to group up. Something we actually hadn't seen too much with Camilleas and Linces actually grouping up together. But we saw it a lot more in this game when he was finally freed up.
And I think the problem was that we got it less from Syncroft and Targamas than we usually expect, right? There's a couple of times where Targamas is trying to get position on towards these early objectives, and he's the one that's getting caught out first. Even here, Syncroft as well, he's been separated from the team and being picked off by Team Go. So I think there's a lot of moments here where we can kind of see it almost like a reversal swap. And I think coming into now game 2, I think it will be a case of trying to get control of this bot side, but to stop the most ridiculous numbers we've seen from an AD carry in a while.
Calm down, Jesu. It's just game 1. Look, I'm really interested in seeing if Geo is going to be able to keep the same kind of fire going into game 2. I think Casey is coming back. Blue side here, if you can confirm production, I think that's the early on. But maybe a different priority and emphasis on the carries that they want to put in the spotlight here.
Oh, absolutely. Normally, between the two AD carries that gets picked up, the Seri's actually been faring better than the Saya has normally. But not this time around, and specifically when there was no lockdown CC on the Saya either. Either Karmine Corp might look to lock this away. It was something they struggled with specifically against natives when they were playing against them in the tiebreak as well. When they have no lockdown on the enemy AD carry, it really becomes difficult for them. And that's also the reason why it became so much easier for Jesu to get this, because he was literally untouched in every fight. And even when he finally got touched a little bit by someone, there was an Ivan shield on redemption and something just keeping him alive.
Look at this. Him coming back.
There he is.
Standing tall. He's like, I'm ready.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think it's why and I think, Laura, this was actually something you wanted to hit on, which was the Zac ban that came through. I actually thought it was really cool because it is a case of, hey, look, well, the Jarvan started to come through, but you kind of correctly identified for Team Go that, hey, look, as long as we can keep Jesu safe in the backline here, there's not really much that's going to touch him, right? We have plenty of CC for something like the Renekton. The Zeri isn't really going to be able to get access either, and now there's the mid laner. So, hey, let's just try and play this front to back. And I think it was a really cool adaptation to see from the squad that they were like, hey, look, we can actually go in towards some of these peculiar bans we have seen from Syncroft, but they make sense in what we're looking at here.
And I feel like it's always where Geo can be really creative is with the opportunities that they can unlock in draft. And I was waiting for these improvements in draft, but also happy to see that it translates into better gameplay. They don't look to show the mistakes and the weaknesses that they showed during the previous series, for instance. So I don't know how much we can learn from this game, but it's a different Geo than the one that played against SK Prime, I feel.
Yeah, I think it's also a testament of how well these two teams are studied and prepped against each other, right? Like, obviously, they come up in the LFL together. They won 1-1 in the regular season, but we're even seeing some of the tendencies that Team Geo have exploited in draft as well. Like, we never got to see, for instance, the Jace come out for Takui in the mid lane. They were like, hey, no, we're actually, like, Ivern has been picked, and in my head, like, every red alert is going off for Tristan and Jace. I'm just like, this is what they want to go for. But you end up, no, we ban Syndra. We're going to leave them. They end up taking the Orianna because we're like, well, Takui's not really going to go for the Jace. So I think both sides of the equation are well prepped here. And I think that's why this is where the draft gets super interesting, because you're going to see these niche bans, this very unique setup where they want to try and take those tendencies that they've seen in each other and just find an advantage over them.
So I want to ask, yesterday we saw Machko fall really hard against Movistar riders, and I'm just wondering if we could see the same effect here. How much have KC been challenged? Do you think we saw everything we could see from the lineup? Of course, the expectation is always high when you have this team at EMEA Masters. What is the read, GB, that you have after the first game and how much it could influence the rest of the series?
I think the read after the first game was that Karmine Corp came in with not the best prep in terms of the whole draft they pushed for themselves.
Yeah.
I also think the bot lane 2v2 kill in the beginning that came out really made the game much more difficult than it had to be. I think if they're actually fighting on an even footing, the game becomes way more favored towards them if they don't try to go for too many plays, because we even saw it. While being down in a lot of gold, they're still able to out-team fight with a comp that was lit ideal for it just by Cabo Shot alone on the Renekton. So I don't think we've seen everything from Karmine Corp just yet. I'm pretty sure that they will start getting some games in this series as well, and it wouldn't surprise me if we would go all the way to 5.
I think we're seeing some of the problems with Karmine Corp though. Like, that was Dragon #1 that basically blew open this whole game after the bot lane play that happened. But there was no need to fight for that, realistically, right? You can actually go, hey, look, we're going to leave that there. It's bang on 7 minutes. So they're going to go for Dragon. We're going to take the massive Cabal shard we have in that top lane, and we're just going to go and play for Rift Herald. If we trade sides of the map, we're in a good spot. We can still play off of that. But for Karmine Corp, they have been a hyper-aggressive team. And I think this is where it's starting to come back to bite them. And I think when you're coming into a situation where you've already lost that bot lane, you've given gold over to the enemy AD carry, who's just in a significantly better spot to go for these fights, it seems like a very weird time for you to try and hard force these objectives. So I think trying to look at, hey, can you actually look across the map and go, do we really need to do this? Can we find other ways to get that gold lead and set ourselves up for success? Because if you don't have those first 4 kills going across, I mean, you've actually got a 2k gold lead coming in for Karmine Corp in the mid lane versus a very even game going into that 15-16 minute mark.
Yeah, going back to what they were doing maybe previously, and that brought them success. But that was just the first game of this best of 5. Back to casters for game 2.
Hi, hi. Nice to see you all. Well, look, you're looking very pretty, guys. That's great. Just get to look down on you all briefly from the back wall. How did we get stuck in a TV? Do you know how we did that? That took me way too long to work out what you're doing. It's like, that's a let me out sound. I see what it is.
It's too much caffeine, that's what it is.
I'm going to leave that one there.
Welcome back. Game 2 between Gio and KC,
Thank
the
you.
LFL derby.
Rescued. Indeed it is. And we're straight into picks and bans because this is a pretty serious one because I think the desk had it right. The early game went pretty awry. And yes, the draft we had some questions with, but Karmine Corp didn't get to play out their draft particularly easily. And honestly, the 2v2 kills were not what you wanted to see. We wanted to see some adaptation here and some change if Karmine Corp want to come into a mid game with less of a disadvantage.
I mean, Dagda mentioned it as well. It's like, it's not good enough. If you're going to play Renekton, play for him. You know, take that Rift Herald, play towards the side. It was Cabo and Cabo alone trying to bail out 4 other players that I felt like were a little bit idle in the very early game, and you cannot do that when Geo's composition scales to the gods. Now, KC over on the blue side for this one. Blue side is usually the side that teams will choose primarily, unless they lose 2 times on it, then you see the swap. Blue side is the favored one, and Azir still open in case KC want to snatch it. Forsaken. Rel still up. Tristana has been banned away. Now, I'm looking for potentially something like the Zeri, because if KC choose to go for something like the Rel, for something like the Azir that we mentioned, Zeri gets left open. It's one of Jesu's go-to champions.
And it's also things like, we have seen a little bit of things like the Kalista as well as kind of that kind of gotcha moment. It was an interesting time in the quarterfinals where it almost worked but didn't quite in that game.
It sounds like a meme to me, man. Kalista on Kalist is like saying the champion's name but in a silly way.
Yeah, no, but it'd be Kalista versus Kalist because it's Jesu who would be playing it. So you'd be like, oh no.
All right, Rel.
But Rel first pick again.
I'm worried.
Last game, it's coming this way around. Now the response is just going to be the Talia Zeri for the type of GA.
The Ivern is still open.
Oh, true that.
Still up and available. And I don't think Geo are gonna let it go away. They're gonna lock in the Talia for themselves. We've seen how hugely impactful this pick can be, especially against a lot of engage. Rel provides you with that. Once it's in, she gets stuck on the rocks. You throw her up, she gets poof.
I mean, exactly that, and I think there are a couple options you said, because look, there is that Zeri, you could just be a repeat of the last game, just inverted. It could well be that Ivan, as you said, and
do it.
That's a decent Emperor Palpatine impression. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, we both got a little bit high-pitched there, but this is one of Jesu's most famous and most comfortable champions. He played it a lot this split. He played it a lot this year and looked very, very good on it. It's another option to follow up on a Talia. We know how well it scales, and Kai'Sa has been terrorizing ARAM on the AP build for a little while. It's certainly been doing the same in Pro to boot.
Okay, I say please get Synchro from something like the Sejuani potentially. You've locked in something that could potentially be your top lane, your bot lane. You've got the Rel right there, but please, I'd like to see Synchro for something a little bit more facilitating. He has been a monster onto the Sejuani. Maga Sejuani extremely strong when it comes to finding picks, and it's also a non-committal ultimate also on the Sejuani. You can snipe someone from far away and follow up with the rest of the team. Second, come on, man.
If this
don't
gets locked
tease us
in, I'm
like
going to
that.
have to do some very swift looking up interference.
You know what?
Jeez.
It happened.
I saw it to you, didn't it?
It happened in groups. I was like, I have no clue what this champion does. Let's learn it together.
It shoots dogs at people. It's very angry. But instead, it'll be the Nico lock, and of course, it's something that Seiken is very comfortable on. It obviously provides a lot of engage and some sort of follow-up to pair up with that Magnet Storm. But of course, the response will be something like Camillus on the Alistar. And Alistar, one of those champions that has been very, very potent across you know, the EMEA Masters, and of course, just generally in pro play at the minute. Very, very strong champion.
Yeah, and I love Nico for very many various reasons right here. One of them being that if you look over at Geo, Alistar, Kaisa likes to dive into the backline, melee champion Alistar, you're most likely going to have another melee champion. The sort of Geo, Nico loves all of these melee champions. Stun them in place, absolutely blow them up with the Zeri. We saw Seiken as well, found some fantastic and extremely creative flanks over in the quarterfinals that KC had. But now, of course, jungle pool could get pinched right here. We have the Sejuani out of the picture. Also, don't let the Taliyah fool you guys. Linzas does play Taliyah
He does, yeah,
from the side of Geo.
But he does play, and there is that world where it goes into the jungle, which would be a little bit of a throwback. And again, it's something we certainly used to love seeing when we got the chance. But of course, that was a very different meta. It was a very different time when you could pull the Taliyah out in the jungle. And there's still a world where it happens, but I think it is more of a necessity than an expectation here, if that doesn't come on through.
I feel like Ivan here could be huge as an R4 from the side of Geo. They can lock in the Ivan, and then since you have the counter pick over the top side of the map as well, you can actually get that counter pick melee for Ragnar in the top lane. Helps a lot having the Ivan around as well. You can play for Ragnar. All the tools are there for Geo. If KC leave that Ivan open, I'm pretty sure it could get locked in.
Geo have just decided, look, Synchro, you've been most potent when you've got a champion that can force picks. The Maokai, the Sejuani, the Nocturne, they're all off the table. Maybe you go back towards something like the Jarvan. It didn't look particularly great last game, but I wonder whether this game, it might be a little easier to execute. You're not having to deal so far with things like the Zyra.
There he is.
But instead, it will be Linzas onto the Viego, locking in the Ruin King. It's a little bit more of a carry option, and if you overdive and you give over the body of a Rel or a Nico or a Zeri, that could get a little bit dicey, and it's certainly a champion we've seen a lot from Linzas in years gone by.
You don't have a lot left from the sort of Synchro, though. You've got things like the Trundle, but it's not particularly a huge pick right here. If you want to play towards that, you could go the AP route if you want to. Something like a Lilia is huge. There's so many melee short range champions right here, but Synchro doesn't tend to go towards these. So the only facilitating champion that I can think off the top of my head right now is only Trundle that remains in the pool. Unless Synchro wants to go towards something crazy like a Lee Sin, which doesn't do very well into Alistar and Taliyah anyway. Oh, hold on.
Because the Rel's
it's Rel jungle.
Yeah, of course. It's the. I would say we've still got the Rel locked in here. So I was following along with you. And then wait, hang on. Rel's been first picked, and of course, Rel jungle has been so potent. It's Targamas back on the Nautilus, who didn't have the easiest time of it in game one. I think that early 2v2 where the dredge line went wide up a couple times didn't look fantastic. Was getting blown up in some of those fights, trying to face check against some pretty scary champions to face check. Looking for a bit of redemption this time around, but I think honestly, Trouble, it feels a bit more playable for Karmine Corp this time around.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of playmaking in their hands and a lot of engage with the likes of Rel and the Nautilus, but I'm looking onto the other side, and every time there's a Viego locked in, of course it's in Linzas' hands. He used to play a lot of these fighters, more aggressive junglers that eat your face. I'm going to farm a lot and then one-shot you. And usually when you see champions on the other hand side of Viego, you're looking at them without the ultimate, because when he steals the soul, he cannot use their ultimate. And I see so much value in the Rel, in the Nautilus, in the Nico, in the Renekton for the follow-up of Viego taking these souls and being able to prolong fights and chase people down. These 4 out of 5 champions are so valuable for him to steal.
We'll also say for Karmine Corp, it feels like they've got more ability to play through a strong Cabochard. Now between Synchro and Seiken and Targamas, your ability to find some of those big team fight picks and set up for Kalist and Cabochard in that mid and late game to blow up some people feels pretty good. Of course, Ragnar, it's not carries, it's not a Yone, it's nothing like that. It is the Malphite he's gone for this one, which feels perhaps a little bit against what we've seen across most of the tournament here, but feeling a little bit happy about that one. Of course, see whether they can make it work between the Malphite and the Alistar. They can make themselves some pretty scary picks happen in those team fights, should they hit the correct R buttons.
Absolutely. I think Kalist cannot afford to misplace himself, especially in the team fights. He doesn't have much protection once the rock is in. The rock is in, you're going to have to flash if you don't have it. Bad luck, you're going down. On the other hand side, Seiken is also extremely immobile. Now, what I've learned from the LFL, and a old but a new face for KC, which is called Adam. He was,
Never heard of him.
He was very adamant. That's
Very
great.
good.
Okay,
That was
no pun intended. He was very adamant at roaming. Level
Yes.
3, you push down the lane. Of course, it was with Bruises and Fighters. It was very easy for him to push with the likes of Olaf, with the likes of Darius. But now, Ragnar, the second he gets that level 6 and leaves the lane, he is a threat. The second he dips into Fog of War, you actually have to respect that. Seiken extremely squishy. You get hit by the knockup from the Malphite, you'll get hit by a consecutive one from Tukuisalia.
I completely agree, and also, you know, with some of those changes that came through a patch or two ago to teleport, you can get down towards that bot lane a little earlier at the 10-minute mark. What you can also do, guys, and those back home, is head over to forthright.com/EM tickets to get yourself those finals tickets for Montpellier, where you can see the finals of this incredible tournament live and in person in France. Hell, the LEC is happening at the same time, so you can double it up and have double the tournament fun.
Hey,
Buy those
it's a
tickets.
big weekend.
It is.
Just go on holiday, you get some esports up in there.
Sounds
It's
like a great time.
Yeah.
I know. Also, you know, it's a pretty part of the world. If you've never been to Montpellier, it's a beautiful city.
I have not.
It's great. Recommend it.
I've heard.
What we also have to do, though, perhaps highlight a player who has been having a pretty good tournament on a bit more of a carry option. Linces. This guy on the Viego is feeling like a bit of a monster. He's moved on to a team where he's not having to be the carry himself. Last year, he was a carry jungler. This year, he's been asked to be a bit more facilitating, but my God, has he done it so well.
I mean, it's great. Look at his stats. On facilitating junglers mostly, your KP at 1491%. You're basically included in every single kill, maybe except one that maybe Ragnar got on his own in a top lane.
Or the bot lane this time around, right?
Or the bot lane, right? Yeah. Every other kill is generated by Linces. And the cool thing about... I was having a chat with some other pro players about junglers in general, and it's like, it's so easy to take a fighter jungler and one that has a lot of bite and aggression and turn them into a good facilitating jungler. But a good facilitating jungler is hard to be a fighter. Linces is it.
Gonna try and make this one work. Linces gets the stun. Cabochard, though, will throw down a Koldomir, can be just fine. Takui and Synchrof will spot each other in the river, but Synchrof flashes in for a shattering strike. Can still crash down. Misses the seismic shot, and Seiken is here as well. Takui may well need to flash. Trying to hold on for as long as they can, but Cabochard will just dice over the wall. Takui with no mana in a spot above them, and now Cabochard is on the wrong side of the wall. Had to flash in the up buff. This is absolute madness in the early game. Synchrof eating the wrong end of Ragnar, who doesn't have any mana, and now he's in danger. Remember, he doesn't have a flash, but over the wall, Takui still throwing out some more rocks, but I don't think he's got any more in the pocket. He's out of mana. First one goes the way of Cabochard's Renekton. Synchrof dies, and now the body can be stolen. I just don't know how much further he can go. We're going to crash down, but look at Takui's pool. He can just throw autos, flash.
Oh, he got the other one!
But the double root, Linces desperately trying to run away, but can get no further. Cabochard ends up with 2 kills.
Oh, baby, if Cabochard was left all alone in game 1 and tried to 1v9, guess what he can do right now? 4 minutes in, almost 1,000 gold up on the map. And let's look at this again. Synchro flashes very aggressively. A lot of question marks were raised there because no one was around to follow up on that flash. But they forced Takui into a choke point, into the Baron pit, and then forced him to flash over the wall. Now, Cabochard is in deep trouble right here, but a very quick flash away forces Geo to split around that red buff pit, and by that time, Seiken's there, Synchrof rejoins him as well. That Crocodile is pretty beefy. The only scary part is Linces getting that reset right there, and hoping that he can turn this around, but Takui has no mana to follow through. So KC, what a fantastic skirmish. I felt like this was like, oh.
Never mind, we don't get time. He's right back at it. Linces looking to right some of those wrongs, but a well-buffered Dredgeline gets Targamas out to safety. Will cost them the flash, but they stay alive.
You know what I was thinking about? A lot of these police movies where it's like they're chasing the thieves and the thieves are like splitting.
Yeah.
So the police doesn't know who to chase. That's what I felt like KC did there, and it worked wonders for them.
Get away with it. I hadn't seen that, but now I'm there with you. Maybe that's going to be an Arcane Season 2. Saw a little thing on Reddit earlier that maybe the date has been announced somewhere out in China, so we might see what that's coming.
Again, it's my favorite.
I know. It'll be great. It's a good movie. Good movie, good series. Not a movie yet. Maybe one day.
You know something we don't?
All the time. I just pretend I do, and then just ask, why isn't Sage? Exactly. I've just spoiled it. Riot's going to come to my door and have a stern talking to me with me.
All right.
What have we got?
Cabochard has already established a 1,000 gold lead.
Yes, he has.
I want all hands on deck to play towards that Crocodile. Render Malphite completely useless. Get him to build all that AP. I love what Syncroft is doing right there. Crash that tower under tower. Ragnar is on level 5. Cabochard is level 6. Pop that ultimate. Get him down. Grab the tower platings. GG, well played.
Level 5, he's a very stoppable force, and Cabochard looking more and more like Godzilla in this game. Will not be asked to pick up. No, what? They didn't quite get it. He walks away. Oh no!
Huh? I want to
Missing pings. Get that sound effect on right now.
I want to say this again because I think Syncroft cancelled one of his auto attacks. Cabochard walked out because he was tanking, of course, the tower. He is the tankiest member between the two, has level 6 for that extra HP, and Syncroft was only level 4. But that was disastrous. That should have been Cabochard getting away with the kill, pushing that wave and the tower, getting some tower plates for free, and it was disaster. Absolutely disaster. We're seeing this again. Thank you very much for the replay right here. So Cabochard is going to tank the most of it. Lots of CC onto this, and Syncroft gets body blocked and can't get that last auto attack down. And of course,
minions.
You can't overchase because Tukui was there by that time, and Ragnar has that level 6.
Calculated.
He has unstoppable ultimate, and you lose Dragon on the other hand side of the map. Disaster.
Geo get away with absolute murder, or perhaps in this case without it, which is a huge, huge moment. Of course, this Renekton still very, very scary. Still up 1,000 gold, 2 kills, and 20 CS. So it's not the end of the world, but that should have been lane over. That should have been Ragnar in an absolutely desperate position.
Yeah.
He's still hanging on, in part because of some very lucky minion placement.
Yeah, it was the perfect timing because he had no ultimate, he had no flash available, and he had nowhere to go. Right now, you need to pull more power towards the top side of the map, potentially have Seiken arrive. Targamas has been known to be one of the best roaming supports we had in the LEC and in the ERLs currently, so get some power towards the top side of the map. I think Alice is at a very great position to stand towards the bot side of the map in a more safe position on his own, but as you can see, Seiken already towards top side of the map. Syncroft going up top side as well. Get that tower plating almost.
Watch Tukui leaving the lane, and Linsis is going to be on that side of the map as well. So we've got Herald spawned and started, and of course Renekton at Herald is a notoriously strong champion. Seeing a little bit of attempted roam that's cancelled out. And I think Geo are wisely saying, look, that's going to be a very rough fight to take. We're going to leave this one well alone.
That's exactly what Dagda was talking about. The
indeed.
Strong side of your map is that Renekton right here with 1.1k app. You've got the whip in your pocket. You've got the other component. I don't remember what it's called. You probably do. Thank you very much. You're so close to your first item as Renekton. Of course you're going to want to take these objectives towards the top side of the map. Use that to your advantage and snowball that. So very well played from KC. You saw that Kalista and Targamas also shoved in the wave and instantly started roaming towards the top side of the map in case a fight breaks out. I can English, I promise.
We might also be seeing some big game hunting appear as Linsis looking to see whether they can make this bait work. They're going to find a huge chunk, going to burst him down. Woo! The heal is good. Gets away, still has the flash. Gets the slow, is forced to flash and survive. But that's Cabochard down all of his utility.
Oh, they chained their CC so perfectly together, and Cabo just about manages to press that ultimate button and get that HP back. But knowing there's 2 members of KC towards the top side of the map, Syncroft knows there is not going to be a jungler around. Tukui is also a little bit hurt with not enough mana, so they're popping down that Rift Herald for Seiken. Seiken's going to cash in 2 tire platings, a 3rd one on the way. So a really great play in general towards the top side of the map for KC.
And I think it's also worth pointing out that actually this is much more reminiscent of what we expected from Karmine Corp.
Absolutely.
Particularly from the quarterfinals onwards. A lot more coordinated in the early game. A lot more in control of
maybe
what
they needed a warm-up game.
Well, maybe they just did. We saw that a lot last year with the Wildcats, right? Who, defense Karmine Corp put to the sword in their quarters, so...
Well, they showed them.
I realised the moment I made that reference, like, maybe that doesn't work so well in the current state of the tournament, but Karmine Corp looking a lot more in control, a lot calmer, and a lot more proactively, because last game, in the green room, both me and you were pretty disappointed with Syncroft. He didn't get a lot going on that Jarvan at all. This time around, Cabochard much better off in terms of where he's at in the lane state. The Goldie in general, much better off. They've got the early Herald. Yes, they have lost the Drake, but they are feeling pretty happy. Look at that goal at the top of the screen. This time it means something.
It's only gonna get wider, the gold gap on the top side of the map. You see another tire plating going down and another tire plating going down for Cabochard. 1.6k up in the lead right now. And sure, this Malphite is gonna slowly but surely start stacking armor, but it's not gonna matter if you get a Renekton on top of a Kai'Sa that plays very low range. On top of it, Aaliyah, Lincec's as well is gonna wanna play this this fight at some point. You run into the Renekton, you're dead.
Looks like Karmine Corp are throwing a party. They've certainly got enough plates to serve everyone at this point. They are feeling very happy with this early game. As, Ragnar loses his shield, but again, this is a Malphite, and eventually you hit a point where the Renekton doesn't do meaningful damage to the Malphite, even if you can get the shove on in.
At the end of the day, your Malphite right here is just going to be your trigger for starting a team fight, right? He's not going to do necessarily too much damage, even though his base damage on his spells, as you level them up later on, they do hurt a lot, especially if you hit an ultimate on the Seiken or a Kalist, who are extremely squishy carry champions. This hurts. But at the end of the day, what Cabochard needs to do is to bully the Malphite around the side lane to try and break open a lane. Talking about breaking open a lane, KC are looking towards the bot side of the map that Syncroft has not necessarily visited too much in this particular game, not series.
Worth pointing out as well that despite trying to avoid vision, Syncroft was spotted on that red wall just at the top left of your screen, so they will know that Syncroft is starting off this dragon. And Lincec is still around, so we might just be about to see a little bit of a fight. Both those abilities go wide.
But look at the mid lane, right? Seiken was able to shove in that wave, which means he's the first one in the river. Now, don't get me wrong, I feel like Taliyah is one of these champions that can get away with not being the first one in the river, because you can throw down your walls, split the fight, and then your team can engage however they see fit. And this is going to be exactly the case. Tukui is going to throw down the wall.
Here we go. The wall comes down and the teleports are summoned. Everyone's ready to go. Dredgeline goes wide, but now the dragon goes down. It is taken by the side of Signal, but the fight commences. Pop Blossom lands, but not as well as they were hoping. Body stolen. That's a Rel. That's a massive shattering strike into a crash down, and Jetsu to the backside begins to unleash a Cathian hell. Targamas has no flash, no hope, no dreams. He's dead to rights, as well as Lincec picks up another one. Can look to hop over the wall. Cabochard and Kalist must back to safety. That is an angry bee, but I don't think your sting means much in this one. G.O. bite back.
That was a beautiful wall from Tukui to force the entirety of KC in a pit. Forcing you in a pit versus a Malphite and a Taliyah, making sure all the spells are being landed because you're stuck in a chokehold, is so great placement from the side. And honestly, Tukui, what a fantastic play from his Taliyah. KC, a little bit lost right there. They get shoved in. Don't necessarily have a reply for this fight. They're lucky to get 2 out.
They very much are. Jezu comes away now with kills. I'm looking at a 3-kill Viego, who is looking to become a real threat. The Trinity.
He didn't have any before that.
Oh, no, he didn't. Now he does. Let's look at this one again, because it just turns into a bit of a snowball once those first kills come through.
Look what a great wall. The wall comes out from the left and the TP comes out from the right. The right one is the Malphite. So KC are funneled either in the pit or towards the choke point where Gio are running through, and you cannot follow through a Taliyah. Look how Tukui is sort of guarding that choke point and allowing Gio to play around that. That was a marvelous played team fight to get KC exactly where they wanted them.
And Kui and Jezu both got out of the Pop Blossom. Neither of them were hit, and that meant that that didn't really land that much. You hit an Alistair who was ulting and a Malphite who already ulted. You're not getting much value with that Pop Blossom, and then suddenly your Rel gets stolen, and then Lincec begins to rub his hand and goes, excellent, I have the Rel jungle now.
Trinity Force.
Exactly, and now he's got a Triforce. Now he is very much in a position to be a threat in this game. Syncroft and Targamas maybe about to face check Camilius and Lincec. Nothing too much more to be found.
And mind you, again, it's very good to reiterate the value of the champions that this Viego can get once he gets his shutdowns. He stole Syncroft's soul, became the Rel, stunned people right behind him, which then snowballed onto Seiken's death. He takes Seiken's Nico and then stuns the next person with the next person with the Nico. So the value of the champions that you can steal from the KC is chef's kiss.
It very much is. Karmine Corp, though, doing a very good job of walking together as a unit to put down absolute tons of blue vision into this kind of bot side river to ensure they get the ability to shove on through the jungle and make sure that the likes of Camillus, the likes of Lincec are known quantities. Herald number 2, though, has spawned, and this is a side of the river that Geo have a little bit more control over.
You would think that with the Renekton 1-something-K up in gold, you wouldn't do that, but Syncroft has been caught.
That's a Hex Splash into the headbutt, pulverize. and pulverizes exactly the right to him as the horse is crushed.
They're
Doesn't matter, Gio. Cabochard has thrown down the dominance, but gets stunned up. Another big double headbutt, pulverized buys time. Herald secured by Gio, but they won't go for the eye quite yet. Camilius needs to try and escape. Will use the headbutt as a taxi to try and get out to safety, but his Dread item will surely fall. It is a 1-for-1, but the Herald is secured by Gio.
And that's the list of the Warriors right now. You just lose your support from the side of Gio. You got what you wanted. You got that Rift in your pocket. But KC are now got them in the numbers, and they're going to take mid lane T1.
Needs to be a little bit afraid. I wonder whether Jesu might consider going in on that fully stacked Plasma, but instead Karmine Corp will get an additional prize in the first turret there in the mid lane of all places.
And that's a great stuff right there. Getting that map a little bit darker potentially gives you that chance with Targamas onto the Nautilus, with Synchro onto the Rel to find some angles in this fight. You see Synchro, Hexlash is over the wall like, what? There's no Geo players around? And he instantly gets jumped by 4. And look at, again, what a marvelous freaking wall coming in from Tukui. Absolutely gets Casey stuck in this corner. And even though Cabochard is flanking from the left side of the map and trying to get into these fights, the fact that Tukui misses that knockup is what allows Casey to chase over onto Camilius' Alistar right there. Other than that, again, honestly, I am mind blown by Tukui, and the way he places walls on the map forces KC in a very disadvantageous position when Gio wanna find them.
Still need to give credit over, though, to Karmine Corp, who are up a fair amount of gold and are, as we said, still in a position to be very scary.
I wonder where all that gold is lying.
Well, it might be towards that top lane. Seiken as well, doing pretty well in this mid lane. Gets himself another turret there, of course. There's a Herald available. It's dropped towards Ragnar of all places, but it will ensure they get a turret up here. And there's a dragon being spawned in about 8 seconds. I suspect both teams might be looking to contest that one. Ragnar doesn't have his ultimate quite yet, but all the while, Karmine Corp getting on towards this tier 2. They've done this across both games now. Plays towards these side lane split push conditions pretty damn well.
Yeah,
tier 2 secured.
I would think that with Gio having the Rift Herald, they're going to use Shelly to push that tier 2 in the top lane as well. They had Linces around. He's emptied the entire jungle, pulled down the ward. So they knew that KC had the advantageous position when it came to moving into that dragon area because they were already on that side of the map. So you give one up, it's fine. It's only 2 dragons in. You take 2 towers to your advantage. Linces took the entire top side quadrant of Synchro jungle as well. So you take this straight for Gio.
You absolutely do, and I kind of agree with your statement there, because again, it would have been risky to teleport in there and try and fight that dragon. When look, it's only second dragon. We can get more gold into our hands and keep the gold within 2,000 or so, which is very reasonable considering, as we said, the Renekton has managed to earn themselves a significant advantage themselves. We're seeing kind of match discrepancies in jungle and mid, but you have spotted something.
I'm getting a lot of pings on Jesu in the mid lane from the side of KC. They're like aggressively pinging that he's in the mid lane, and they're looking to potentially get a pickup onto Jesu, yeah.
Kalisto goes forward, but there's a teleport behind. That's so much damage! My god! Flash on forward, but the ult afterwards is good. Kalisto taken low! Gets the solo kill! Bot lane though, fights commences. Linces looks to get a kill onto Seiken, does so. Massive damage! Double kill! That's not Seiken getting, because of course it's a stolen down body as the Ruined King ruins Karmine Corp's day. Cabochard knocked up, trying to survive, slices, dices, and will roll well on this one. Still gets stunned up, will not roll well enough the second time around. That's a nat one, and he will die. Linces claims another one, and that is a damn terrifying Viego.
What a wild turn of events! Jesu gets absolutely ditched by his top laner.
What's happening?
He gets engaged by Khaleesi, he gets ditched by Ragnar, but for a good reason. Again, if we look at this replay, we're not going to look at this replay, but we might in a bit. But that's a great turn of events for the set of Gio. Linces on the carry role this time around, not on a facilitator on that Viego 6-1 and 2. And now we're gonna have a look at this replay. So Kalista engages onto Jesu in the mid lane if you look at the minimap, and Ragnar absolutely ditches him because he sees the potential down the bot lane. Linces is their carry this time around, and they're facilitating for him. So the TP from Ragnar secured Linces another 2 kills. And again, look at the follow-up once these souls who are so valuable come through. Then Nico with the root, the Rel with the root as well. They're just such great targets for Linces to put his target on.
And sometimes it feels really good when you set things up earlier, and again we bring up a little graphic about the guy.
Man, I would be salty if I was Jesu. If I was Jesu and I went past my top laner and he pressed his TP button while I'm dying, I'd be pissed.
He's not as important this game. Clearly it's Linces. We brought up the graphic for him. He's 6-1 and 2. He's got 2 items. And in fairness, Jezu nearly played that one pretty well, but he can't outrun a ghosting Zeri, it turns out. And that one got a bit
wouldn't
tricky.
you want to have your Malphite there?
Malphite, please! Like, no. I see 3 girls in the bot lane. Goodbye.
I'm out.
Fades into the distance.
All right, on the other hand side, though, for KC, 2 kills for Kalist. Now, what Kalist needs to be very careful of course, is that he's moving into the next fight in 2 minutes without his flash.
Yes.
He becomes a really easy target for Ragnar to go for. And of course, once that target has been locked from the Malphite ult, it's such an easy follow-up with Linces and with Tukui having that long-range access with the ultimate on the Viego and of course the knockup from the Talia. So that would be a very easy lockdown from the side of Geo. Now KC have the Baron in their sights.
Minded Jezu and Tukui don't have flash themselves, but this looks like a little bit of a flip. Last time around, Geo won the flip. The burgers went their way. Looks like we are back in the kitchen. We're back in the burger joint. As Seiken has got himself a clone in there. Massive 2-man knockup into the follow-up. Oh my god, it's a beautiful wombo combo. Cabajot though into the backline trying to buy time onto Jezu, but he just can't do enough damage. But maybe he can. Does at least get the Kai'Sa, but not before the rest of his team is forced to run to the hills. They must try and escape. The wall comes down and they will claim Synchros life as well. Kalist goes to the backline. Can't get anybody. Falls down. Karmine Corp are wiped. The blue wall crumbles.
What a terror! I never expected KC to come up with a desperation Baron to cause a teamfight. Yes, they see Tukui down the bot lane, but it's Talia with teleport. He teleports in, throws the wall down instantly. What a fantastic engage by Camilius, followed up by Ragnar, instantly zones away Kalist. Kalist is on 10% HP. That Zeri cannot walk up to assist you and put down the damage. It's your only damage dealer remaining, on the map, and Geo absolutely spats on them. I'm lost for words. The world is lost. My words are lost. Everything's KC. So desperate.
It really is. And honestly, Geo, a team that in some ways a lot of people have written off. This is against Karmine Corp, who just slammed the defending champions, who are, 3 times at EMEA Masters, 3 championships. They're here for their 4th. And they're about to go down 2-0, it feels like. They just lost Baron, they can't win a team fight. And this is a team for the side of Team Geo who struggle with communication, struggle to find consistent team fights, who have been so inconsistent considering the raw star power on their roster. About to take KC to match point, it feels like. Maybe this can be a moment to turn it around. Maybe this can be a moment to get themselves to soul point, but you have to start to fear if you're a Karmine Corp fan.
What's Shaken and what's Kalist's positioning right there? They both have flash. They can get out of Ragnar's ultimate whenever they wish. But what angle is KC going to find? Look at Targamas. He's playing from the right side to angle.
To get on in, just going to get that much value back. They get to the backside, take it down about half HP. Gets stunned up! That's a massive ultimate! But wait, the pop blast comes on through!
This is dead!
They finally prevent the engage. Cabashot, goal to the backside, does go down. Jezu stunned up in the back end of it, but will survive with attacking the dragon. Camille is also desperately low. And now Geo are the ones in danger. Ragnar needs to run away. Kalista begins to breathe fire. Gets another one onto the side of that Talia. Does go down. Ragnar gets down as well. And actually, Karmine Corp finally bite back, finally stop Linces and get themselves to soul point. Baron will be absolutely neutered to boot.
Seiken. 4 times, because he's looking for his 4th title if he goes over to the finals. He's the OG member of KC. He's been there for all 3 titles. He's been there for the entire era, and he baits Geo in the pit. He hits the Malphite ult because he knows he is not threatened by anyone else, and when Linces jumps him, he sees him to death. The whole of KC jump on him as well, and he gets out scot-free. Gets the root over the wall of the Jezu as well. What a fantastic performance in this team fight by that KC mid laner. And again, one of the staples for the organization. He's been there from the very beginning. He has been part of all 3 titles and their success. And he's coming back in this team fight to bail them out. 1, 3, and 5, his KDA does not speak for how much he did in this team fight.
And let's be real, if that stopwatch hadn't come through, Linces was claiming another kill. That was a body stolen, and the game looks very, very different. Instead, Linces dies, and look at the gold. He's 4,000 gold ahead of this 056 Rel. Syncroft has been struggling, Linces has been feasting, but you kill off the Viego, and these fights look a lot more playable when the Renekton, when the Zeri get to free fire on those very low health members afterwards. Ragnar ults in the top side, and Seiken's going to be forced to ult early. Now the teleport's coming on through to try and prevent a further chase down. I think it must be. They're going to try and get in here, but there's not much of a wave left. Still jumping onto Ragnar, who doesn't have a flash, but will get on out, and that's a teleport forced, and Ragnar gets to walk away.
I think it's kind of fine because mid lane is pushing, top lane is pushing, and now KC can actually split through mid and top. There's only one lane that is actually under attack for KC, and that's the bot lane, so they can actually trade 2 towers for 1. KC can actually keep pressuring right here. Geo, until the reply comes through, you will see that Seiken does have the teleport, so he's going to be the one going back to base to defend that bot lane push coming through. But that was a very clever TP, I feel like, from KC. It resulted in them having both tier 2s in the mid lane and the top lane. Great macro.
Helped defend Seiken as well, because he felt like the Malphite could keep running at that Nico for a while. Otherwise, I think he said Zeri, but that's very much the wrong champion. Play does buy some time there. And yes, you got the tier 2 for Geo, but Karmine Corp get both tier 2s, as you mentioned, and that was against the Baron that really got absolutely nothing done. What have you spotted?
So the story of the carries has changed for Geo. Last game, it was Jesu onto his Xayah. This game, it's Linzas onto the Viego. And if he's slippery enough and difficult to kill, and Seiken had to pull out every card in his box to get him trapped into this pit and play fantastically that fight start to finish, now you need to kill Linzas twice.
Yeah.
He has gotten his Guardian Angel, so has Cabochard, to be fair, but Cabochard is playing more to zone away the fight and try to dive into the backline whilst Linzas is looking for this opportunity. This Ragnar, he's
Cap just
flanking.
picked up for Seiken. That could be important, this potential fight. Seiken just get a bit of a route onto Ragnar, and everyone's around. Cabochard looking to get onto the Malphite, who gets hooked up, taken very low. Still has the ultimate, gets into the backline, but may well likely be traded out for it. Seiken gets a pop loss, but it's not the highest value. Resurrecting his Linzas. He's surely dead here. Seiken trying to buy space and time, and he's dead. He's down. It's a double kill to Kalist and Karmine Corp, Cabochard. This incredible roster of talent beginning to come online across these last 2 team fights.
It's the KC Magic, baby. They're coming back together. They were lost game 1, game 2. They're doing everything possible in their power to pick Geo apart. Look at that TP coming in from Seiken. It's guarded by Ragnar on the top side of the map. Seiken, though, plays around Ragnar, and KC pull the trigger to engage on the tank, because if Geo pushes through that choke point, there's a gigantic Renekton and Nico ult that can stop you dead in your tracks. And Linzas falls for the bait. He sees the low HP bars and falls for the hourglass again, which means not only does he go down, he lost his GA.
Jesu just had to cleanse and ult there as well, continuing to run at him. He's not having the easiest time on this Kai'Sa, been pretty quiet. At least at 3 items now can be a threat, and Linzas back on the map, looking to try and redeem himself. It's a couple important deaths, and yes, he is strong, but the problem is now he's diving in, and he's diving into 5 people by himself, and that is just so hard to deal with. Zhonya's stopwatch, GA, you can look across the board and see some very difficult targets to deal with. Kalist now with the Bloodthirster. Who on earth are you getting to burst through?
Now, if you're KC, you have the reins of the game. You are sitting on soul point, so you can choose whether you want to go for the dragon or allow Geo to try and stop your soul and just take the Baron.
Double headbutt pulp, Targmas has to flash. Cabochard also taken pretty low. That was a little over eager, but Cabo doesn't actually have the teleport. 30 seconds on Infernal Dragon might cost Karmine Corp.
Tukui's chasing.
Tukui has gone down. Yes, he has. That's a wall on the backside. Looking to see if he can get someone in the pit. Leaves Karmine Corp in an awkward position. Cabochard does have the start of that GA. Into the backline goes Ragnar. Kalist taken low. Trying to run down. Big pop blossom. Gets onto Jesu. He's dead. Seiken uses the stopwatch well. Ragnar cannot kill Kalist, but does so finally at the end of the day. Looking to get some more work done as Linzas. He's got himself a body. It is, of course, the Nico. Tukui trying to run away. Cabochard still trying to survive. Chameleons into the backside. Does get a big knocker, but there's just not any damage left. Big knocker onto the side of Tukui, trying to run away, gets the shove, gets the GA. Linzas needs to back. It is a 3v3. Cabochard doing some healing, desperately low in Synchron, body secured by Linzas. He gets to hop on through, and despite the health bars, Geo win out.
Oh my god, I think this game has been the story of the 2 mid laners. Tukui played this to absolute perfection. Again, look at the TPs coming in. You will see that Kalist gets hit by the big rock from Malphite, and then Ragnar walks him down while Seiken has his eyes onto that Kalist. He's like, that's the carry. That's not the carry. Linzas is. So when you use your entire HP bar to take down the Kai'Sa and allow the Viego to take you down, all he needs is 1 reset, and Linzas got his reset that game, that fight, which wasn't Seiken. They have been hunting him for 3 team fights straight, and now that they got him, you saw that there was no damage left.
Got so close here, but Chameleons finds another big pulverize. 3-man knock up there at the end of it. unspoken MVP. And now with the GA down, and they head straight back towards this Baron. Here we go again. Those are some big damage numbers. We'd love to look at it, but we just don't have time. Baron secured, and Geo looking to extract, looking to get back to base, looking to ensure Karmine Corp cannot collapse them as they escape.
I don't know if they can chase right here, but what Cabo is looking for is potentially for everyone to back, and then he catches somebody onto the retreat. He sees Jezu right there, but Jezu eyes him down, and he's like, yeah, I don't want none of that, so they're gonna back off. Close. Huge wave over on the top side of the map. You want to be able to push this away before the Baron siege starts and the minions become a lot stronger. We'll see right now what Geo can actually do with the Baron, but this has been, again, a very close game. 2,000 gold difference over for Geo, but all the gold lies within Linces, within the jungler. If they can manage to find him in one of those fights, if they can manage to bait him in again with Seiken's Hourglass, and you take him down, that's great. But if Linces survives, KC lose the fight.
Stopwatch now on Zeri as well, increasingly hard to take down. But I'm looking at Jezu, he's at 3.5, he's got a stopwatch. Yes, he's down 3,000 gold, but in terms of active fighting power, he's not miles off. He's still a threat. And again, this Viego, unless you deal with them early, before the resets begin, is such a problem. It's that additional X factor that Karmine Corp dealt with for a couple fights in a row, but that last one they did not. And he survived and managed to win out a fight that looked oh so dicey, no puns regarding Renekton's abilities intended.
I feel like it's been so difficult to deal with Ragnar as well, because Ragnar is literally body blocking every auto attack from Kalist. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm here. Hit
yeah, what does Zeri do against Malphite? Exactly.
Ragnar literally is walking down Kalist, and Kalist can do nothing about it. He cannot use the power that he has onto this Zeri, into these team fights. Another wall coming in from Tukui, gonna zone away KC, take out this tower in the mid lane, the tier 2, easy peasy without any commitment right there from the side of GO, and now KC are looking, what have you got? You're engaged, it's not the easiest, they hit a root onto the Malphite, but that's not the target you want to be taken down.
And again, it's always been one of Zeri's flaws. She's not been the best anti-tank champion. She's wonderful at running down low health bars, she's wonderful at staying alive. Can certainly deal with the absolute best of them. You can see that in the amount of pentakills, that's for sure. But against a Malphite, you kind of said it right, you just get run down a lot, and you've got enough targets to be dealing with, and Seiken and Cabochard played out some of these fights beforehand so well to ensure Linces didn't get the resets. Great stopwatch timings, using the GAs, all of those things, but it's easier said than done. 2 minutes until what would be Infernal Soul for Karmine Corp, and that would be a win condition, but it does feel like this game could go either way right now.
We talked about a lot of the times the Soul being the win condition for a team, but it's also the downfall, right? Because you need to get there and team fight for it. It's not like GO are going to be doing anything else on the map. There is nothing else on the map for them to do.
Their Baron, the whole thing.
Yeah, their Baron is the Baron's about to run down. 3 minutes and 10 seconds for the next Baron to come up. So they literally have nothing. Their weekend is open currently, just for that dragon fight. So
just call me. I'll be there. Just whatever.
Exactly. They're gonna be there nevertheless, right? They still have the Baron, which is very valuable for them because they can still pressure the waves, which means that allows them to freely put down a lot of vision before that dragon gets up. So a lot of setup. They'll have vision onto Karmine Corp before that dragon begins, and by pushing in these waves with the remainder of their Baron buff, that also allows for very free resets while Karmine Corp is dealing with the pushed in waves.
Also important though, Cabochard no TP quite yet, of course Seiken does. Ragnar and Tukui still up with both theirs, and of course Tukui, but it also means the opportunity to reset, to move around the map pretty high for Geo if they can get some of these lanes shoved in.
Camilius need to press B. Yeah, there you go. Presses B. He set down all of his wards, but because KC, you see right here, they have to deal with the waves that have been pushed into them due to the Baron buff. They have the time from the side of GO to reset while still all of their vision is down. The problem from the side of KC is that they don't necessarily have anyone to face check for them. Synchrof is kind of squishy because he's gone for more the protective build, if you will. Exactly. He's more of the supportive, protective build onto the Rel. Cabochard as well has the GA, doesn't want to lose it by just face checking for some vision. So everything's going to be played around that mid lane wave, and if KC can enter the river on that side, Cabo loses half his HP, even attempting to walk into that river.
Linces, never mind completing a 4th item, just gone for the
Kalist is zoned down.
No, it's a big zone out. Kalist can't get hit. Tarkmas goes golden. They're trying to buy time. Synchrof runs away, but Tarkmas must flash. Must try and stay alive. Gets knocked up, but that is the ult used to kill off the Nautilus. It's taken away now. Linces, squishier, but has stolen the Nautilus body. Lands the dredge line. That's still the
Seiken!
Who's golden? Seiken doesn't get much value as he's opening for Cabochard on the back. There is Jezu, who dies. He's dead. Ragnar staying alive. Tukui trying to do as much work as he can on the backside, but it's still Ragnar down. A double kill to Cabochard who's trying to stay alive. Kalist desperately low, has the GA to work with. It's a 2-for-1, but importantly, the health bars for Karmine Corp are just desperately low.
Cabo and Seiken still have TPs to get back into this fight. Syncrof can stay around, he has 50% HP. They can TP straight back into this fight and fight for the Dragon. Only 3 members of Geo and 4 for Karmine Corp. Kalist has also gone mid lane. He's stolen back so much HP. KC found their soul.
They got it. Honestly, I thought the moment they jumped Kalist, it was going to be a disaster.
Seiken.
But Seiken gets the stun. Let's have a look at it again.
Oh my god, this is why this guy says, I don't care if they pinch my pool, I still have Nico. It works pretty well. Now, Tagamas right here gets a little bit too deep. Casey cannot commit right there, but most importantly, Ragnar commits the ultimate onto one support. And Kalist right there, you think he gets gold? Look at that beautiful flash ult from Seiken to lock down 3 members that threaten Kalist. And the second that Zizou goes down, Litzes doesn't get his reset because Tagamas hourglassed it earlier on. It is beautiful to watch from the 2 mid laners. The things Tukui and Seiken have done to win these fights has been incredible. Seiken coming out on top in this one.
You thought when the stopwatch came through that Jezu could play it out, but Cabochard was right there to snap him up. Infernal Soul for Karmine Corp. Gold leads nominally to Geo, but I don't know how much it means right now. Whew. Game on a knife's edge. Karmine Corp perhaps with a decisive edge with this Infernal Soul, perhaps. You know, I felt like I've said that a couple times this game to both sides. Oh, that certainly stings now.
Now, of course, Hourglass still not quite up from Seiken. He's gonna go all the way back to base to purchase a blasting one, I think it was. A little bit more AP power for these fights to come. But Syncrof is engaging right here. You do not have your Nico. If you get caught out, it's a 4 versus 5. He was trying to see if Geo would commit anything, but again, your Nico is way too far away. No flash on Seiken, no flash on Kalist. You cannot overexpose your 2 carries because Malphite is still there. He's still praying, he's still looking. All eyes on Ragnar. He finds the target and Viego can dive in.
All right, Baron started. Cabochard trying to zone people off. Linces over the back, does not have flash, does have ult, can get into the pit. So hard to stop a Viego from getting in. He's off vision as well. They don't know where he is. He can get to the pit. They know where he is. It's gone. Cannot get there in time. Seiken will be resetting with a clone. But now Karmine Corp needs to run back out of here. Ragnar in danger. Gets jumped on by Cabochard. Karmine Corp want the fight. They want to do this. Over goes Kalist, who gets stunned up. They must try and reset. I don't know about this.
Oh, that was so scary.
Where are they going? They've got a wave. Are they going to keep shoving?
KC are gonna shove towards the top side of the map. I mean, they have an entire wave. They have 2 cannon minions. They're gonna power the map as well. Seiken is gonna press B to try and see if anyone pushes further from Geo. It's not going to be the case. Every single member of Geo went back to base. They want to defend that top lane side of the map. Ragnar still has his ultimate.
Baron, hook goes down onto Ragnar. When Karmine Corp continue to siege on forwards, the depth charge comes on and Ragnar knocked up but knocked down. But he's still able to ult in. Seiken takes a big chunk back though for the temerity of stopping forwards. And look at this Kai'Sa, now very much online. That's a sorcery elixir on as well. These W's certainly begin to sting. Still though, the inhibitor is down. The inhibitor turret has fallen, of course. Before that, Karmine Corp get a decent value out of that initial shove top lane.
They still have 2 minutes left on their Baron buff as well. And they've got 2 more lanes of attack from the side of Geo. So Seiken, Kalist, I think their flashes are about to come up as well. You see Kalist has finished his last item, full item Zeri, 4 items on Nico, sorry, for Seiken as well. We're looking at their flashes right there. They still have like just a couple of seconds left on them on the cooldown. The second you have flashes on both of your carries, you can play even more aggressive. If you are KC, they have been fantastic and fighting these angles. On the other hand side, I'm looking at Tukui. The placement of that wall will be so instrumental for their team fights, for splitting apart KC and allowing Linces to dive in, not to 5 people.
Oh, they're going to catch on to Syncrof. Pulling him across the wall, can't quite kill enough.
Camillus is dead.
Desperately low! Kalist, shot back though, will still survive, still has the flash, still has the go, still has the GA, and is just fine with that. An attempted pick goes desperately long, and Camillus down. The wall behind them is Cabochard's not going to get into this fight, particularly Syncrof gets a stun onto Ragnar. Seiken throws out a clone forwards, it's not him, of course. It's just that W, that trickster. And Karmine Corp get another inhibitor.
Funnily enough, these 2 creeps had to walk around because of the wall of Tukui and went towards that mid lane, but Geo, they're chasing the jungle. There's no objective, Geo. What are you doing?
Trying to get something in the back end of it. Cabochard has hysterics pop and not down. Targamas gets the depth charge onto Jezu into the pot blossom. Not as much value as they were hoping for as Ragnar goes over the wall, but can't get that much. Seiken desperately trying to...
Oh, Cabo!
Cabo to the backside though. This is Godzilla, all right. It ain't no alligator from the swamp. He's a city-destroying monster alongside Kalist, who claims Viego. Linces, what a game he's had. It's just not
KCR
enough.
ending, KCR ending, KCR ending. Seiken and Caboshot both have teleports. They
want
still
this.
have Baron. They have a wave towards the bottom. They have a wave in the top lane. They can pressure GO. Lince's dead, Jeju dead, all their carries dead.
The siege continues with all the minions crashing into the base. The gates are broken. Their bodies are broken. And we're going to 1-1. Karmine Corp, even the series out.
Woo! I'm so happy to see Karmine Corp hit back. You see the smile on Targamas' face on Seiken. It's a smile of relief. You know, you're not going 0-2 down. That's when you're in a pickle. But that man in the mid lane, Seiken, oh my word. You know how they say sometimes that stats are irrelevant to someone's performance? Stats were so irrelevant to Seiken's performance. The amount of fights he saved, the amount of fights he created, the way he broke some of those team fights so Gio couldn't play them, the way he was trapping Linces over and over and over again, the way he was split. Phenomenal performance from Seiken.
Yeah.
My word!
Stats don't lie, but they can tell the wrong stories, and they certainly would have if you weren't looking at that game, because Seiken's ability, particularly in those mid-late stages, where it was looking so difficult, that Viego looked absolutely unstoppable. But some critical stopwatches, some critical picks into the backline to make sure that Jezu could not play those fights were absolutely a difference maker, alongside Caboshot as well, who once again had a really good individual performance on that Renekton. Karmine Corp bite back, though, not without taking a few punches themselves. It wasn't like Gio walked
Still
over in that game. I know that was very close.
I feel like they tend to overextend a little bit, Gio, when I feel over-eager. And right there was no point in pushing. The opponent team still has the Baron. If they kill you, they end. And that was the case.
Well, forgive me, everyone. I am going to need to take a break along with the rest of you because I need to catch my break. Breath is the word I was looking for.
Breath in the break.
Breath in the break, because we've got another game to come after this. See you in a minute or two.